welcome you to the second session of day 3 of the 5-day FDP program on Art and Science of Effective Teaching on behalf of Dev Samaj College for Women, Sector 45, Chandigarh. The topic of today's session is enhancing employability skills among the students. And today we have with us Professor Dr. H.K. Sardana, Chief Scientist, CSIR, CSIO, Chandigarh. Sir, we are very humbled to have us with you today. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the second session for today. Professor Dr. H.K. Sardana, he is the Chief Scientist and Professor ACSIR CSIO Chandigarh, and he is our guest speaker for today. And Dr. Sardana, he started his career in 1982 after completing his graduation in Electronics and Communication Engineering from NIT Kurukshetra. He did his PhD from University of Nottingham, UK in 1993 under Nehru Centenary British Fellowship in the area of image processing and pattern recognition. In 2001, he completed his MBA in Human Resource Management and Organization Behavior. He obtained merit in CSIR Leadership Development Program for middle to senior scientists in 2007 and has been a faculty for the same. He has 22 patents to his credit and 7 still pending. Last but not the least, he has more than 140 publications in different SCI journals and international conferences. Sir, with this, I invite you to start the session, and I hope that this will guide us to grasp the idea of bridging the gap between employability and higher education. Sir, please.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
I'm also humbled to see such a introduction and also a larger audience of the faculty members at various locations. So as Madam said, I have been acting both as employer as well as a teacher, as a professor. Yes. So in a way, the early phase of my career has been towards, employing people, typically science and engineering postgraduates, graduates, PhDs. And then the later, last more than decade, about 2007 onwards, 14 years plus kind of experience, wherein I started actually, teaching PG science and engineering graduation students, post-graduation students towards their PhD and MTech programs. And 2001 onwards, I had my MBA completed on how students undergo their internship, how their education turns into employment or career advancements. So that's how I position myself. And I hope this gives you both kind of mentoring and critical and all kind of expressions, including provocations in the presentation. So it is involving many aspects. Is the whole screen visible fully fine?
Yes, sir.
Full screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, yes, with that experience and introduction that you heard, I am sharing in a way, and I'm daring to share in a way, or daring to state some, views, learning that I have. In fact, most of the learning also came from, Madam mentioned about our CSR Leadership Development Program. In fact, most of the human behavior, performances, and how their employability comes in, and how their long-term, performances in the career come in are learned there. So you will see a lot of mix of academics and a lot of learning during management and leadership programs. So it's a broad, I would say a little bit content heavy. I hope, but there are a lot of learning to come. We can always switch to interactive modes wherever possible. So I'll see that we use the time effectively that we have at our disposal. So this is the plan that I see faculty forming the students, as the topic also expects students to be made more in a way suited to employment. So what constitutes competencies? What makes people, worth to be in the job? So that this will be the larger content, and this might open up many new things to your disposal for consideration. Largely, the MBA work that I mentioned was towards how their internship develops MASK, as we call it. Well, if I were to disclose it here itself, it is motivation, attitude, skills, and knowledge attributes for a student. And then, as Madam also mentioned, maybe this topic, whole program is towards higher education institutes. So I am also putting forward some kind of vision that I developed over last year or so. And then how parallelly, as I said, I come from R&D Institute, but also connect with industry. So a lot of my research and sharing has been towards Industry 4.0. So in a way, also to make some of you aware, or some of you may already be aware, towards Industry 4.0, and that is what industry must be embarking now. And then how innovations, well, that could be the crux, as the title says, how to make them employable. So what innovations at your individual level and also at institutional level would push, well, might be surprising for you, education also reaching 4.0 to 5.0. So this is globally happening. And then how all these together can move us ready or embracing Society 5.0. So globally, this is what is required. Where we are, we can see ourselves individually, collectively, institutionally, and nationally. And also a bit of vision, as I said, well, this discussion cannot be away from national education policy. So you will see, I would rather very happy to see that the vision that I have been pushing, towards many educational institutions of higher level has been very much, reflected in national education policy also. And then, of course, we'll see break plus question answers all over in between. Okay, so as a faculty member, you connect with institute, and to me, so you will see some of my provocations towards teachers. Many times we do not connect with institution, and we keep ourselves individuals. We believe that as a teacher, I am individual, and as a student, the individual. So there's a lot of individuality, which is fine in one way towards personality development. However, as breadth of the education goes in towards industry, towards employability and many things, then we need to see how institutions, connectivity in our mindset goes in. So these two need not be considered separate, and we need to see how we in our attitude connect them. So what are the issues you are all involved with? Well, this presentation talks about student development. You might be, typically busy always as classroom training, classroom teaching. Some of you, as I did my MBA work, was on project work, internship, wherein students spend a lot of time outside their institute, and then they look forward to placements. So some of you may be involved in these activities. But I would request you to embrace as many activities as possible, because, as I said, otherwise you remain very individual. So then continuing education, you are all here for such a program. Today's program is towards higher degree training program, workshop, FDP. faculty development specifically goes into faculty development programs of this kind. And then research. Well, I don't know how many of these aspects you consider as institutional aspects, or you leave them to future, or you consider this is not for me, or I am good at teaching, but I don't need to consider research. I mean, where is research going to help? All these mindsets continue, and then we neither learn nor lead and continue teaching. This is sometimes I observe. Okay, so now I'm giving you another perspective where you are at the center, students on one hand, and you follow management, expecting things from you, which is more on how teachers are deployed for different jobs. Well, the management goes into middle to higher level. I mean, there are top managements. You may have vice chancellor, directors, and head of the departments, and some of them may be, senior professors, senior faculty members within your own. So you may have a level of management at functional level, teaching level, and also at top management, which might surprise you with their expectations. And ultimately, the education is to serve the society. So in a way, the society includes parents, and society includes industrialists, society includes employers that you might be looking forward to. So this is not limited towards student only or towards teaching only, it goes beyond. Now, if I were to share the foundations, that is where I would say the science and art of teaching comes in, is here. And part of it, as I said, was part of my MBA program, where I considered most of these parameters. So that is how, and if you see education policy, so what I have done is my slides were many times used in some modifications, innovations as per the need. But I have added now, the bottom line here is from NEP 2020. So in a way, you will see that how some of the experiences that we observed as employers and also as faculty members, because we were also finding graduates and postgraduates coming from various institutions of higher education. So we were finding some of these parameters, missing or, needing a lot of improvements. So now bringing the foundations of science as such, we say, of course, as I mentioned, knowledge, skills, attitudes remain the core for development at your level. But then, as I said, science connects to society. Science here is not just the science, physics, chemistry, maths only, but it includes all sciences. Science in terms of how knowledge is generated, how the society carries this. And this science and these attitudes, skills, and knowledge is not from individual. Again, it is from the institutes, how the society carries skills, how the society carries knowledge, and how society carries attitudes. And then only the whole society will be served looking at science and technologies, society and environment in the country. So these foundations do not remain limited to individual or even one institute. They go beyond, and they embrace the whole nation. That's the kind of breadth I am trying to showcase here. And so, well, just for the science of knowledge, I mean, how knowledge is basically generated. I mean, so as I said, if you remain into teaching, you may be teaching yesterday's knowledge in a way, or you thought the knowledge is static, which is not the case. If you see the pyramid, which comes from Clifford and many other, prophecies that you might see similar, but typically, I mean, as we say, so nothing is like, limiting your understanding. So data, if you say data is not information, if you take information is not knowledge. If you think knowledge is enough, then you say knowledge is not understanding. Understanding is not wisdom. So in a way, it's about not. It's not what is, it is what is not. So this pushes you to cross your boundaries and see. And if you see, when we do research, we also say knowledge plus. As you will see, we consider the derivatives of knowledge generators are in a way definition towards research. Or there is a lot of meta knowledge which connects various pieces of knowledge together. So this is how, and the bottom level is not just data, there's a lot of noise below data. So even the data is not available as such to start with, to see the process of knowledge generation as the researchers do. So therefore, a lot of context. So many times we may be limited to context and noise and never even reach the data levels. So these are some of the observations I am giving you. Some of them might sound critical and some of them might be useful. So this is in a way very simple words. If you say, if you were to rhyme things, you may say the whole purpose of education, the most simplified understanding on the purposes of education is to be. The first is to be and then to do. So when we say we are seeking students to become employable or enhancing their skills towards employability, that means they must be able to do something. And then doing again is not enough. Then what they do, what the world does, do they see? So do they see? That means do they observe? And do they tell? The students of higher education needs to be doing some kind of oral, some kind of written, some kind of publications, communications. So communication remains the ultimate of kind of test or evidence of education. So therefore, to be, to do, to see, to tell. And that's what I remember from my MBA coursework from IGNU. One great, simplest possible line. And then if we can embrace this, probably this slide could be everything about what the whole
Uh,
presentation is today. Now, bringing you.
excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Actually,
Yes.
sir, your voice is not properly audible. Clear nahi hai, sir.
Okay. So now,
Uh,
somewhat better.
yes, sir. I think
Okay.
it's better now. Thank you, sir. Sorry
Okay,
for
maybe.
interruption.
No, fine, fine. Audio is very
Yes, sir.
important,
Please
and
continue,
maybe
sir.
the
Please
laptop is
continue.
away. Yeah. So
Okay.
now, as I said, the education and of course science, when we say to, so all these disciplines are to serve the society. So therefore, if we think education is for employment, well, I remember one magazine where it very nicely said that this shiksha is जीवन के लिए है. It's not for jivika. So in a way, so we let us not assume as simple as that education is for employment. Education is for life. I remember my teacher told us during graduation that you should be ready for the last day of your employment, not the first day of employment. I mean, not just getting a placement. So therefore, education is for life. Education is to serve the industry. To serve the industry again in a larger way. Larger way in the sense that the institute provides students who are employable, yes, largely. So so a part of it. So in a way, you see a subset. So goes to industry and becomes employable, and then some of them, and well, ideally all of them, but as if this diagram shows as if there is a rainfall kind of waterfall kind of diagram. So as if industry, or it's like some effectiveness or some efficiency goes down while industry is serving the society. So in a way, this is how you will see some of it coming up later also. So this is how I see the way, even if we are trying to look forward to employment, enhancement of employment capabilities to the students. So we need to see this whole as how education is to serve the society. Okay, so now few more, as I said, you might find things quite heavy in content, but bear with me and we may come back to these points wherever more deliberations are required. So to me, a student is developed on one hand in an institution, while the institution of higher education also develop their ideas. So when I said they do problem-based learning or project-based learning, and nowadays we are looking forward to a lot of incubations in the institutes, and we are looking forward to not just employability, we are also looking for entrepreneurs in the education system. So well, we are in that sense also looking forward to see that their ideas become incubated. So while they are being incubated in the institute, their ideas also getting incubation and ready to serve the society. So in a way, I find this two tracks. So let's think here that the education is not a single track, it's a parallel track where individual and their ideas go together. So if you see that individuals need to have a lot of expression and communication capabilities, and not just, as I said, observing and imagining things. So this is the sequence you can see. It is not just for only science or engineering students. This diagram, I believe, is largely applicable to all kind of disciplines that you might have. And then, as I said earlier, you see to be, to see, to do, to tell, all these elements that we shared earlier, in a way, are also that, are we making humans doing or making human being? So it's a more higher level expectation, not just doing and becoming capable of doing things, but also looking forward to larger. And as you will see later on, the industry 4.0 to industry 5.0 and society. So you will see the higher levels of society wherein these future, youth will be deployed, will have a lot of humanness is what we are expecting. So in a way, this is how we believe the ideas will go to action. And then parallelly, as I said, the human getting developed and the doing gets development. That is what. Now again, a provocation. It is towards communication and expression that this is typical. And this is no other than one of our, Indian executive in a company, in an IT company. So this, what is that? So see, I gave you some provocation as an employer somewhere, as interim, whether they are training, internship, project, or they are doing ad hoc positions in the institute. But this is where the industry. This is purely from industry. That typically the education might not be taking the required levels of innovations, because they may be doing, as I said, yesterday's problems. So that is where, see, if the faculty thinks they don't need to develop themselves, they don't need to innovate, or they don't need to be in a continuous education or even faculty development or research, then they will be teaching typically what we say the coursework or syllabus that might be kind of age old. And then of course rest of it is towards industrial automation, etc. That if we are embracing industry 4.0, we will see how he also commented on, if it is totally, if humans become machine like, more robot like, then also it's not worth. So typically we need to see that they remain humans. This is also so the provocation and bit of lesson. Now if we were considering employability, this is first snapshot of things that I gathered from literature. Now, some of them were indicated earlier: motivation, attitude. It talks about skills of time management, team working. I mean, how people work together, or how do they manage their stress levels, or can they present their ideas? Do they adapt to the environment? Do they have enough confidence to put themselves personally? So there are many employability skills, but this is again a list. Now, how many of these are undertaken at your level, and how many of them you consciously or unconsciously or during assignments you keep considering them and also use them in assessment. So this is something, might be a Pandora box kind of thing as a first level, but this is not end of it. So I'm going to have now herein what as I said, I learned during this CSIR leadership program, and this gives you a bit of enough groundwork. Now, some of them might seem acceptable, some of them might seem, I would say, surprise to you, but this is what it is. And somewhere your favorite knowledge keyword remains, right? So if the previous slide did not have knowledge, this does have the, see what this material is now about competencies. So what are the competencies which make people not just get a placement, but also continue to remain? If you see the last word here, is performance, deployment and performance. So this slide, I will say it all in terms of what we are trying to achieve. And this achievement is not just the responsibility at faculty level, but at the institute level. and also at the level of employer where the persons get positioned, get a job. So now, so what is competence? So competence is the underlying knowledge, experiences, attitudes, values. So that defines the person. And that's not all. Then there's the next level, which is about behavior and skills. So you will see the behavior. I mean, students many times think the teachers look at behavior. Well, rightly so. And in some sense, limited sense, in reasonable sense, these are important. Behaviors are going together with skills. So it's not just skills, it's behavior plus skills. And then how the person is, deeply in terms of intelligence, psychological, emotional, spiritual, physical. So the integration of the whole being. So as I said, human being. And then you can consider them suited to effective deployment and performance. So their work habits, when they are placed in the position, how they are, going to work, how to sustain, how do they sustain in their positions, which is, last the box fourth, the bottom box talks about effective deployment, whether they deploy themselves and perform with vigor and rigor. So that's the whole canvas, and the rest of the things for few more slides you will see. We'll talk about these. Okay, so as I said, this competence goes is not fixed again, and this is not just same for all, and this is not same for all at all times also. With time, we may be at a very lower level, which is like just the qualifying level we call threshold, which may be specialized in your coursework. Maybe after the institute, if the individual can become even threshold level, that's the highest possible level of employability. That the but when the person gets into the job, and some of you may recall your first job, that you might be limited in terms of time, people, and space. That you were limited to a smaller classroom or a classwork or a few students, or within the department with limited kind of expected outcomes. So you were more specialized. So in a way, specialization is not the end of the game. Specialization is the beginning of the game, and that is where you can show your threshold performance, that yes, you have. That is what we say as the first level of employability comes, and you are more content centric. As I said, content and context both are required, and then the impact that you generate, or the student of yours generates to the first job, is lower impact, less complex. So it's like a simpler situation. And then but there is a minimum threshold. And then over a period of time, maybe with first few years of experience, you mature, and achieve a standard level of performance. And then you take even level, it shows 3 levels, but sometimes 5 levels are also given. So at a senior position level where you can lead things, you can integrate. So there's a lot of integration. There's like a lot of high time space, even people, I would say. So your impact goes into larger time domains, larger space domains, and larger set of people whom you influence. And then you are more process focused rather than content focused. And then you create a lot of impact. And then you handle complex things. So this is how the competence continuum goes in. And then, so this is one aspect of it, but that's not the total capability or employability. That is a competence that you have. You means the student may have, but that's not necessarily that you will have, the individual will have total performance. So that's like a potential part of it. But here is what capacities. So like some humans may have sustainability issues, that, oh no, I cannot work for more than 1 hour, or I cannot listen to this much, or I cannot present for the 2 hours of lecture like FDP, and I cannot attend 5-day program, etc., etc. There's a lot of capacities issues that you may have, people have. There's a lot of human, integrity issues that people have. Their quantum of thresholds, that their capacities are limited. Sometimes a person can perform excellent things, but the person cannot do it for a longer duration, or for, typically this capacities may be the peaks of performance. What are the, or how much you can sustain. So it's, you can produce something, but how many you can produce in a day, kind of thing. So it's a kind of quantum that we talk about in terms of capacity. So the total capability It could be any mathematical formula we have just
Driving
put,
license.
competency plus capacity, but it is could be any summative kind of formula. One can put it towards capabilities. So this is now capability goes in the same way. So as probably you gathered, that is the term that describes the quality of being. So capability is towards quality and capacity is towards quantity in a way. In a way, you can put it this way. And capability also means some of the hidden potentials. So as a student from your class, a student may be having even a lot of hidden potential or capabilities, maybe for which there is no capacity. There's no capacity visible at all. So there could be a hidden potential that you might, like to, inculcate in the students. Little more in terms of little bit complexity, but I would say if there's too much to give in here, so there's a training aspects in one. There's an expertise performance required at the job level that you see the top circle. The left circle talks about training and continuing perform, like the program that we are attending here. And there's a lot of affiliation and network that you maintain yourself. So are you a member of various networks, professional bodies? So put together, you will see there's a kind of a lot of commonality. On one hand, you develop ethics and values through training and expertise. On the other hand, you learn good practices through training and professional affiliations. And on the other hand, you achieve best performances through expertise and professional network. So it's a lot of things together. And in the center here you find the center wherein your professional ability goes as totally, having all these elements. There's a lot of, so therefore you will see, maybe I'm trying to give you too much from the classroom, but at least I'm giving you what is expected in a professional, environment. So all that you might not be able to see that you could bring in towards the student, but if you can generate these potential or consider these potential first for yourself and then for students. Now, just to give you the total width now in the next two slides, and then we'll start converging. So I'm flooding with a lot of breadth of the content. And so in a way, this is what we learned in professional competencies during management and leadership programs. So are you considering that your students, that you could ask these questions to students, who you are, or the student could ask you who you are and who am I? That is the deepest possible, what we call personal mastery or self-mastery. Sometimes programs to call it self-mastery. So are they master on their own? They may be master of science, master of arts, or whatever. But are they master on their own? So then C2 is what we say competency 2, which is cognitive and thinking. So how you think, how they think, or how we think. So there is so C3 is about analytical, diagnostic, and problem solving, which is where many times at education institute level also we talk about, problem solving at least. So how you understand and how resolve things. So, well, it might be too much, I would say, but at least most of it is applicable to you as a faculty member. If not to your student, at least you can see it first to your self level, and then you see if you develop in those lines, you are anyway having your career. So you are towards management and leadership levels as you, spend 5 years in an institute, then you can consider all these. So it's not an orientation of the fresher faculty member. So it's beyond that, I believe. And then, so therefore, interpersonal communication and presentation, which is typically we lack. In fact, if I were to say you, or you were to say yourself, you can see where is the institution heading, what level of education or what level of competencies the education in the classroom is generating. You can see for yourself. I don't need to say anything. So interpersonal communication and presentation says how you relate, how you interact and project things. Then managing, of course, well, these keywords should not become, say, no, this is not part of the coursework. This is not part of the content. Let us not say that. This is what is expected of a profession. Now, how much of that we create in the class, that is up to us. how to create structure, process, and system. This is what we say managing. Then collaboration. A bit of it goes even at a school level. When the students work together, there's a lot of collaboration and teamwork. So how do they continue working? They typically they say in Indian education system, or to all Indians in the world, they say, oh, Indians can work individually, but they cannot work in groups. I mean, what is that? Why it is so? So is it in the education system that we have? So there's a collaboration and team working, creativity and innovation. So these are some of the very common stuff talks in professional development programs. So this is about how you generate and convert ideas to realities. I mentioned earlier, at least you must have, let us have these ideas and individuals developed in the institution together, or together in the sense parallel tracks or merged tracks. So in a way, a fusion of the two could also be there. So this is about creativity and innovation. So functional and technical. Many of the students where they come to us for with their masters, and let me tell you, for years in their education, years in their research career in science and technology, they think their own mastery in chemistry or mastery in physics or mastery in economics or mastery in blah blah is what matters. Let me tell you, this C8 is that functional technical expertise. This is one of the 9 competencies that if you think you are a master in your coursework, you are just one in 9 categories. I mean, you're just that master degree or even PhD is just giving you C8. That also quite unlikely if rest of the things do not support. So therefore, this is what scientific and technical discipline wise we get from it. Typically from an institute, we just get C8. The maximum we get is that. But yes, there's a lot of scope that other things can exist. But this is what I'm trying to provoke teachers at this level. So C9 is about how industrious, how organizational and environment sense comes to the students, your insights, expertise, and how people can become street smart. Street smart means they can go alone in a new environment and also even become players of their field. So this is largely now probably too much to expect from a program like this or in general from an institute, but that's the breadth. So now I will now in a way give you now a path of convergence. How much of that and how can we achieve all that probably will be rest of the things. So most of our discussion now that follows will be towards convergence. So now be happy. I'm not going to diverge too much now. This is the maximum I wanted to go. That was the maximum of width that I wanted to touch upon. And rest is more of it is convergence of what has been stated so far. So now you can relax and maybe start thinking and even questioning or even seeing that so there is something to carry forward from this program. So knowledge, I don't need to teach knowledge. What is knowledge? But that's it. I would only tell you, as I said earlier, that let the teachers not be using bookish knowledge as we use. I don't want to use the terms like that, but this is what many professional circles talk about. So let's not be here to what we say, cover the coursework. I remember a teacher said, we don't cover the course, we uncover the coursework. So people may have even that view. If that could be one innovation in the thinking level. So this is generally stated for researchers as we use for research scholars, but this is at least valid for faculty members also. So it is not that knowledge is just a kind of content. As many times then they say, if we are not giving in knowledge, we might be giving information. So if you're just teaching coursework, that might be just actually information, not even at a knowledge level. As we said, that information is not knowledge. So knowledge is when you develop your own knowledge over a period of time, not just in the form of opinions, but in the form of processes, experimentation, explorations, very conclusive, and then some statistics, and then some conclude something, and keep up giving them publicly, globally, in terms of their publications. So this is what it talks about here. And this means that you identify you, when you say you, to me, you is the medium to reach students. So I am assuming that when I am provoking teachers, faculty members, they will in turn change the students. Tomorrow you can use this kind of statements to your students also. So to identify and define gaps, as the title for this workshop was also to find the gaps between education and employability. So this is also a kind of knowledge. that we are trying to generate here through discussions and through other literature, global, local, national, then do we generate, refine, and evaluate? So in a way, you can see in my presentation, we are maybe generating very little, but refining and evaluating the existing level of national, standards, and then also looking forward to new policy and also looking at the global levels. Do we see the monitor? Do we monitor? So at professional level, we are expected when you join professional bodies, you maintain the dynamics of your field. So you will continue to know what is best, what is the latest. And it's not be that on one fine day, the pandemic teaches us, oh, suddenly we have to go virtual and we have to become, not just chalk and talk, but follow Zoom, Google Meet, and many other ways of, reaching the students. So, and also, so the finally it says improving the understanding of your subject coursework. Well, I just said science and technology, but it could be any field that you are working in. So that is largely, I will avoid such elaborate explanations of these terms that you may be well aware of. But so I'm just, so in a way, so therefore there is a lot of hierarchy of knowledge. So knowledge is not a static element. See, knowledge is like a river. So it's not that it's a still water. It's not a pond of water. Pond of data, information, knowledge, as we say. So it's not pond. It's a flow. So therefore there is a hierarchy, and it could be knowledge that exists, knowledge you can synthesize, knowledge you apply, and then students who get into, as I said, into new knowledge. If you, as a faculty member, when you did your research, maybe you are guiding students, so you are into discovery or invention. So there is a hierarchy of knowledge, and that's what comes as research, and that's where the knowledge gets generated or refined. So there's an older knowledge, new knowledge. So knowledge is not static. So let's not take that as static. Now, in fact, this is what serious flaw as a gap, if I say, I found, or I continue to find in students in general, they lack the communication, huge communication issues, and we keep blaming the language as a barrier for communication, but which is not the case. It is not truly the case. But this is how we blame sometimes. And we go back to saying that we should have this medium or that medium. But typically we find the research, and it's not just research, it is research, analysis, and communication all missing. Because it's not just at higher level of education, it may be that many other developed countries have these factors at the school level. So you might blame schools, you might blame mothers, parents, homes, blame anything, but that's the way we have to achieve. So we are finding these almost missing in students when we acquire them for any training, any initial ad hoc placement and all that. So we can consider whether we have them. If you have them, fine, but again, keep assessing them and keep innovating. Now, in my study of MBA, if you see that during the internship, what happens? So I studied these 4 parameters, which is motivation, attitude, skills, and knowledge. Now, in fact, here the lower the height of this bar, the more important, because it's ranking. So they were asked to rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, and the highest ranking, if you see here, the industry said for their interns was that attitude is what matters. So if you ask industry, they will not talk about motivation. They will not talk about education at all. Knowledge at all. They don't even talk about motivation, which is still their concern. But what they are troubled, and when they hire people, you will find that to them, attitude is what matters. Many times attitude decides your altitude. So therefore, to them, attitude is what individual continues to carry from home to school to his or her graduation to post-graduation. And then when the individual wishes to update, adapt, to improve, then the attitude changes are visible. So therefore, to them, attitude ranked very high. I mean, in a way, the lowest bar is, that means the ranking is top 1.5 kind of thing. And then, so more or less, I would not say that they were conclusive on other things, but, and this is the perspective of the industry. If you see the faculty perspective, may be different. The faculty thinks, this is how things. If you see, there are 4 bars. One is faculty perspective. The other is industry perspective. One is the career perspective. The other is the training perspective. So there were some details, but I will just bring the importance of attitude here, and we can come back if you really. They are very close also. So therefore, the knowledge has typically the lowest ranking as such. Now, another aspect we studied from the students, association with industry was that how their inherent attributes are ranked in terms of observation, in terms of imagination, in terms of communication. So there also we found that the highest ranking, if you see here, 0.64, 0.67, equally on imagination and others together. So in a way, imagination is what probably they want, highest. In a way, lowest value means the ranking, highest ranking. So therefore, observation. So anyway, we need not worry about what is more important. I will say everything is important, even if you take that view with minor variations here and there, because it was a survey. So it's more a kind of opinion of about 50 kind of industries that they gathered these. So, okay, now, well, if that doesn't give you this statement, should help you take a totally independent or a global view, or even the industry's view, similar to the Sikka's view that you heard from Infosys, is that, see, they to an employer, very critically taking any person joining their industry is that, skills, okay, we'll teach them skills. So they say they don't talk about even knowledge at all. And they will talk about only this, we hire for attitude. Attitude is what they think they cannot change, or they take hard to change. So that is where, so they are, talking about skills, talking about attitudes, and largely talking about attitudes that comes from institute, when of the previous institute, when the students, join the industry or any employer. So that's here. Now attitudes, well, I will skip some of these things to bring or give a little brushing opinion on these, because some of these things are well known to you. So we need to see, so in a way, you also need to be observing your students. This will come from observation. This will not come from any other way. Whether they appreciate science means whether they appreciate the knowledge and the dynamics of knowledge, the changing flow of knowledge as we discussed. Are they interested in the coursework? These are observations. I mean, there cannot be any very sharp instruments. A faculty member who is looking at the whole class, and you may say in virtual domains it's not possible. How do we know our students are not even putting the cameras on and all that? So you might have difficulties here, but then again, with difficulties lies opportunity, and we need to innovate. The dynamics of, if we don't do, then nature jolts us with, pandemic like situations. Do they have a scientific inquiry? Are you inculcating and promoting or encouraging the inquiry, questions, which is largely missing in most classrooms? And as I said, classroom collaborations, safety. We teach PhD scholars safety norms, safety ethics, and ethics in general. And then stewardship.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
can you be slight louder? Can you be louder, please? Sir,
Okay.
because your voice are cutting actually in between.
Okay.
It is not very clear.
I'm going closer to the laptop again, if that helps. Okay. Is it better?
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay. Continue, sir, please.
Yeah. So this is about attitudes. And this is where we said they provide links to the science and technology and society and environment foundations of the nation. So the attitudes of our students towards their chosen fields of working or education or specialization is what we want them to. Now, then values. Well, this you might say that these do not come from institute, they might come from homes, or they might come from schools, or from, but largely the environment. So if we can look at these, so there's a lot of values that may matter, the way the students get employed and they get continuation in their working. Okay, so I will just throw some of the material here, uh, which you may say is related to the the way the education goes in higher institution, or it may be that um, you may say there's hardly no relation, but this is what see a little bit of intelligence, and then probably we'll have more or less converging to how we can move forward in the vision towards institutions. So so far it is about individuals forming, getting formed through environments in the institution. So this is how it is. So so there is a creative and emotional aspect of intelligence. There is a physical, bodily aspect of intelligence, and there is a traditional, numeric space. So again, this content is thrown before you just to have a consideration and see how whatever suits you may come in your forming processes, how you form your students. Now, a little bit more on thinking levels. So intelligence and thinking continue to define an individual. So are you or are we in the class as a faculty or as our students, are we developing people with scientific? So you will find students may have some kind of inclination. They may have inclination towards holistic thinking or conceptual thinking, and sometimes it may be natural to them. So it's not necessary that you will force people to think differently. But that's why we are bringing thinking into the discussion, is that because as per their thinking and they make choices, so accordingly their life choices, their personality, their identity, and how they are influenced by the environment. So how locus of control here means how you let students to form themselves. So you are forming the students, but you're not the only one. The environment is actually forming. You are just be part of the, you are there part of the active environment that you are bringing for the students. So there is a influence that is happening on the students, which is locus of control, as we say. So how they are more influenced by teachers. Sometimes they say, parents say that they are more influenced by the teachers. So locus of control shifts from parents to teachers, or sometimes locus of control shifts from parents to peers. So depending upon how the individual is thinking and choosing, these are some of the theories that you might be willing to consider in time to come. And the more you develop on the understanding of some of these aspects, maybe more you can put yourself towards students development. So this is now more or less on individual levels. I think this is the converging slide for individual level development, which is how you think, and accordingly you do, because a young person is to do things. I mean, the individual is not just learning and learning all time. So there is an action also. So they do something and then they achieve something, and then this goes in a cycle. So their thinking leads to actions and then kind of achievements. And then the same concept of thinking, which I said the mind generates some kind of structure, thinking forms a structure. And in their career, longer duration of their career, what we say, this is what will have a larger lesson of performance, that structure within their mindset, within the institution, drives their behavior, and then that behavior drives their performance. So this is how the individual forming goes in. And then now at this juncture, I will say that um, we are now moving to institution in a way. A little bit of individual issues would remain there, would be coming in our discussion. But largely now, in a way, I'm proposing a vision for higher education institution where we wish to have a kind of at least dual role, a kind of dual role to the society, to the teachers. And as I said in my own interview, I had the opportunity of acting both as a scientist as well as professor. So at least I can say last. Any question? Okay. So are we considering the institutions towards readiness of industrial revolution? Well, you might say, no, this is, where is it for you? Yeah, industrial revolution will be happening in industries, but there's a parallel revolution happening in educational institutions. So you will see this, if you have not seen so far, you will see that Prime Minister, now look at this. This is the statement from Prime Minister. And I was happy to see when I had already started showing some kind of vision of this nature, that it came in the light of national education policy and largely from his own mentoring to directors of many institutions, heads of the institutions. So Prime Minister, in a way, July 2021, started expecting that institutions need to have novel ways. So novelty and innovations are to be part of higher education institutes, so that there are future needs to be served, and then that prepares the youth for continuous disruption. So see, Prime Minister observed this disruption of pandemic happening in the world, affecting this country, and how educational institutes to be ready, to make students ready for industrial revolution. So if you have not heard of it, bit of it will come in our discussion, and then we will see how we can connect education, industry, and society together, as will be the concluding part. A little bit of exercise. I'm sorry that I maybe some voice wise there is some audio, maybe the voice is not so audible. So if all is well, can we connect here? So as I said, we are not creating an attitude, you see, like a school boy or a pampered child, where we say as a parent, sometimes we are happy that my child is the best, or child also starts thinking, because he has been or she has been getting, say, 10 out of 10 or 100 out of 100 kind of thing. So they wrongly sometimes make an attitude with the knowledge that I am the best, so that they think it's more like both. It has all the aspects of education that we might have in many levels. So are we ready to innovate? Are we ready to transform? So here is a connect I am giving. So I don't know if you can we interact on this? Am I audible clearly? Can few people vouch to be predicting?
You are audible. Yeah,
So
you are
can we
audible.
Yes, sir.
say, should we move from attitude of I am the best to curiosity and inspiration? Can we say that? I mean, it's something I generate. This exercise is about more than a year old. I've been using this to many faculty members and hoping that they look at it with some positive, opinion, and then they use it to transform their institute and their own self also. So, sorry. Yeah. So I did talk about idea. So what do you expect in terms of idea? What should it connect to? Where does it connect to? So relax now. As I said, we are more on a path of convergence, and that's where the vision.
Idea, sir, idea with out of box thinking.
Yeah, somewhere. Don't worry, you may be right. This is something closely or best. If they have an idea, it must be realized. So as we said, incubation of
Yes, sir.
ideas towards realizing in the society. So it's maybe a bit of words placed here and there, but fine. If you think out of box thinking will also come in somewhere. It's a kind of exercise. So there may be some limitations. Maybe you find that is fine. You will have out of box thinking also. Anyway, we are moving from left to right. So all will get connected from left to right. So therefore, ultimately we achieve all the right, wherein we develop students with research, where we say, I'm not yet the best. So that the purpose is to reach that level. And so in a way, it's more on a continuing improvement, continuous education, or continuous, so it's more on that path. So that's the purpose. So where do, well, some of the people in...
Code and selection to data and problems.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Next, okay. So let people keep telling me, then they are saying something, then I'll connect. Next. Yeah, next.
Knowledge to competencies.
Well, yeah, knowledge to
Oh, knowledge
competency is a
research.
long journey.
Okay.
I will say knowledge to competency is a long journey. Let's have only first bit of fresh, dynamics of knowledge. Yes, competencies, of course, will come in. Now, what is the next one?
Feedback to
Support
like
and evidence.
support and evidence.
Well, your guesswork should have been more clearly from positive. You thought
It's a negative feedback.
there could be a positive feedback, will go to negative feedback.
Okay.
Negative feedback is what makes people, let me tell you. The pampering of children at school level or at a home level has been, we say spoiled child. So there's a negative feedback that makes the person. Anyway, well, these are not right wrong kind of answers actually. The purpose is how we connect. It may be right now you are connecting like that. Tomorrow you can connect, you can take one point and connect to all of the right side, let me tell you. There's nothing wrong in that. You pick anyone from left side and connect to all of them. So actually it is not one-to-one connection. This is what I want teachers and education system to understand. It is like what we say, we call MIMO. We say multiple in, multiple out. And they all actually are connected to all of them. There's no one-to-one connection. See, as a class exercise, we have made it one-to-one. But truly it is not one-to-one. So therefore, if you're thinking the other way, some other answer, actually they are all connecting to all. It is only just the best connection or a visible connection. So now competing. Next one, let us guess now. See, for example, as an exercise, when the last one comes, I will say the limitation of this exercise is when the last one comes, you will say automatically that's the answer, right? This is only a school exercise, a class exercise. This is not end of the game. Okay, so let's see competition. Yes, next one. Yeah, sorry, somebody was saying something.
Competencies, sir, with your competition.
Yeah, so therefore, see, in India, we say we believe only in competition. We teach something and then put them into competition. And then see whatever who's the best, he or she considers as the best, which is not the best. Any person in a school, home, class, city, institute, nation, even if the competition is winner, is not the best. Winning doesn't generate best people. This is what we all need to understand. Anyway, sorry, I moved to the next point. So the confidence.
Yeah, I thought support evidence.
Yeah, confidence that we think that confidence is like overconfidence. Typically in India, confidence is actually meaning overconfidence. So therefore, it must be supported by research, evidence, and support of data. Okay, next one, please. Now things become easier, as if the previous answer is not there. Huh? Yeah.
Fixed thinking versus out-of-box thinking.
Yeah. So let us move out of this fixed thinking, which is what we say in our education system, and a lot of thinking issues will come later on. Now comes your favorite, syllabus. Where is that syllabus?
Syllabus is literature.
Yeah,
literature.
So there's actually open literature. The whole education is not syllabus, right? Whole education is in the literature, is flowing, maybe not even formed. It's not even formed very well. It's just open. Open means open doesn't mean that open source literature, but all journals and that may not be even finalized. It's not converted as a textbook. And of course, you may say students cannot be taught everything, but at least you need to be exposed. Next one.
Open book system.
Yeah. See, now it is getting obvious. Do you think these answers were, if I had taken these questions first, would you guess the same answer? That's the question I'm raising. So it's therefore the last one becomes obvious. Doesn't mean that was an easy answer. Okay, I don't need to tell you that now. Okay, so I hope you understood, enjoyed.
Sir, I have one question, one doubt, sir.
Yes.
Do you think countries like India, we can really entertain this open board exams And would that really help a student?
We have been
Because we
using it.
have been
We have always been using open book in the last decade. Whether it was offline, online, whatever it was, we said, okay, do whatever. So we believe in assignments. So our evaluation system and assessment systems have to be innovated. Yeah, I know there are a lot of challenges to the faculty members. And then in the virtual open book is becoming difficult. It's becoming not difficult in the sense it is becoming rather easier, but cheating has also become easier. So there are many issues, yes, and just to I understand faculty has to face a lot of challenges, but that's where is the transforming opportunity. Yeah, we'll have more of questions. So now, the recent pandemic, I will not spend much time on that. This is what we recent. So let us not be conforming. See, we say we are more conforming. I understand from institutions is that we believe in conformity. We want all students to have the same answers, isn't it? Objective type or whatever. So it is from moving from conformance to performance is what we desired today. We discussed it today. Yeah, personalized teaching. So can you think of, you were just asking now on open book exam, can you consider personalized teaching? Is there a possibility? Personalized evaluation. Is it sounding too much? But let me tell you, industry is going to give you personalized objects. When you go to a tailor, you want a tailored suit for you, isn't it? Right? Or no? We do a lot of personalized, customized things in industry, in research. Okay, so some of these assessment and evaluation becomes a very big issue. Is it troubling? Is the screen troubling? Okay, so I will, okay, maybe if there is an interaction time, it's 1 o'clock. We are on a path of convergence, but few things I want to keep giving you on a passing, as a passing note. So these are fine. This is what you recently observed. I don't need to say too much on this. ICT and parents, you have all faced. This could be easiest learning for you. And now, okay, so this is again based on virtual teaching. A lot of challenges and opportunities. You got it. So some of you are happy. Some of you are still looking back to the older times, and you are assuming that world will become normal and we'll have a chalk and talk kind of teaching. Okay, and some limitations. People feel that real teaching had a lot of sensors and physical connect to the student. So observation and imparting of education was okay. So this discussion could be this part of ICT based teaching could be. Now anyway, this I must share this part, that are you ready for a vision where you have at least dual role? I showed you both as it's like a male and female kind of, or the teacher and researcher kind of, or a mentor and a teacher together. So are you ready to graduate from teacher to coach to mentor to guru? Are you ready for such freshness? Do you believe that you must feed fresh food to fresh education to your students like you try to feed your children at home? Or you want to give them anything frozen? So if you are saying now, this is what the World University Ranking Institute says, I just put it as a diagram. So this is a statement converted as a diagram. I have just generated it as a diagram where the education and research go together. So there's a lot of alumni, a lot of quality of education that puts the institution at higher ranking, better ranking. And on the other hand, within the institute, you have quality of faculty because they are involved in their research performance as well. So in India, we have made a compromise, there are good teachers and there are good researchers. So we have just agreed to this dichotomy, which is not fair, right? So this is what is about world ranking. Now, well, okay, let's see now. The dropouts, or sometimes we say our students are not so well educated. And if you see Kapil Sharma never boasting of his English or never telling, I find him close to this researcher, Edward de Bono, who talked about lateral thinking. The first lesson of lateral thinking I'm trying to give is to have balance of at least education and research. This is the first level of adding a dimension to the thinking. So lateral thinking means it's like you are not on a single road. You are on a highway, right? On a highway, there are parallel tracks. You choose low speed, medium speed, high speed, and all that, but you have all the tracks, and you need to be ready to go and follow any track. Well, not just parallel tracks, the lateral track could be even going away. So see, is there humor? Is there a surprise in our thinking? Then if you're a very serious thinker, then think of Kapil Sharma. I would suggest, I will broad first time for the faculty members that students who are not so considered very well can teach us humor and lateral thinking. Some of them, the example is here, and I'm equating him to the researcher with the definition of lateral thinking. So at least start adding dimensions to the thinking. When it comes to faculty thinking, then it will move to their action, and then it will transform the students and then institute. So it is a long way. So I'm not giving an easy way to this transformation or to the enhancement of employability. It's not easy. First, you have to improve your own employability, and then you will assume you will have students better employed. So there's no way that you benefit students without getting benefited. So you can take that advantage also. So let us not say, which is very much true for education, that is a vertical thinking. Vertical thinking means we believe there is only one-to-one connectivity, right? The example I gave you in the previous exercise. We think that there is only one answer, and that's the only answer, and there's no other answer, which is what we call vertical thinking. And this is where we are troubled with education, that we are not ready to have all answers. Can we say that all answers are correct? There's a possibility. Well, that's what. Now, as I showed you, so from a teacher to scientist kind of dual. Okay, so that is how some of the points that I felt towards interdisciplinary. So are we able to move towards interdisciplines, or are we stuck at disciplines? I come from chemistry, I don't know anything about physics. Is that a fair statement? Then where is physical chemistry coming from? So therefore, we are marred by the discipline in which we specialize. In a way, I remember there's something called well-behaved. In some of the engineering signal field where we say well-behaved. So sometimes there are students also very well-behaved. So many times well-behaved, and there are ill-behaved, like the Kapil Sharma example I gave you. So you have to see where we are placing our students, what kind of students we are generating. And many of them, even in global, we say dropouts are the people who rule the world. They're dropouts from school, college, institute level. And there are many entrepreneurs who are unable to finish their graduation. So we must see that also as dynamics and see how institute could develop them rather than letting them develop themselves. Or maybe if you don't do anyway, they will develop themselves. And they will say, I'm genius despite my education. So that's a title I saw in one of the t-shirt of a student. So therefore, anyway, there are a little bit of provocation here. So move out of your discipline. Then the interdisciplinary research comes in. We formed ACSR in scientific disciplines of the country, which is all interdisciplinary. So we all of our master's programs and of course PhD programs are all into interdisciplinary. So most of the things we tried from 2009 onwards at higher level institutions, and then we could get a ranking of 22 in recent 2021 ranking. We could achieve that. So because of all these things that we tried, and we faced all difficulties that we have written here. Right. So these are some of the values that we want institution level to be achieved, and they will come from your attitudes. Okay. So, well, if you find it difficult, connect to these, whether it is electrical car or a petrol car or a diesel car, or energy is common to all. Environment is common to all. Why can't we see that? Why should we say that electrical car comes from electrical engineering and the previous car comes from mechanical engineers? If we continue dividing like that, then we'll say, then we'll not be able to connect. It is actually the transport that the society gets from a car, isn't it? So therefore, we need to learn to connect. Energy and environment it's a scientific aspect of, or in general, from all other social sciences and other fields also, you may always connect to nature, man-made stuff, resources utilization. Economics is always towards utilization of resources. So how can we disregard these common issues, right? So all these are common. We may have any kind of strike, but the sun never goes to strike. Sun is always there. The earth is always there. The air is always there. Water was always there. So therefore, the universe is always there. So man-made issues are towards performance. But do we ever say sun has a performance, or earth has a performance issue, or water has performance issue? We may be polluting some of these, but largely they continue to serve. Okay, so linkages, some of the constants, some of the things remain constant. Some of them, well, if it is going too much in science, so I can skip. So some of the things are constant and some of the things always change. That is what we must learn as a student, as a teacher, that there is a ground truth. There is a truth which is never changing. And there is a, in Indian mythology, it's a Maya, which is always changing. So therefore, we must learn everything is in between. And maybe some of the things are like speed of light, say it's a constant. So we assume, and largely so have never been the case where we failed in assuming that speed of light is, or a pi. If you say pi has a constant. Some of the constants we say constants and changing. Energy was already discussed. So have these basic concepts going across the disciplines. These are some of the things, some examples we maybe example that some of them are, common. And then I'm still fine in audio video because I found some internet issue here. Are you okay with this? All audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay, so are we seeing the interconnect among disciplines? See, so do you think finance, economics, political science, or even other things, do they not connect? Let me tell you, in all science and engineering technology, we always talk about, financial viability, economic viability, even political scene in the country. So we continue. So it's not that we don't have linkages among disciplines. We have, then, so some of the examples here, if they could be of help to you, we can go on talking on more. So there is a similarity. Can we see a very generic thinking? There is a similarity when we teach the class means similarity, right? But does it mean each student in the class is same? No. The class is one with assuming minimum level of understanding, knowledge, everything imparted to students, right? Common coursework and all. But every student is not same. So we need to have the other side, which we have never seen in the education system. That is the issue. The issue is that we have seen only one side of the coin in our education system. We have not seen the other side of the coin. So typically I show the coin in two sides. This is one. So let's at least embrace one research or what other side. I am giving you some example. So there is a systemic aspect. Now, if you see ability to see the whole in the system or system made up of its parts. So if we cannot see both, then probably our education is in doubt, I will say if we see only one side of the coin, there are huge serious issues likely, and some of them are visible in many situations. So again, system is made up of, system is doing the whole job, and system is also made up of its parts. So that is, both opinions have to go simultaneously. That's the kind of example I'm throwing here. Okay, so I'm waiting when to, so we have, I hope you had a break in that kind of feeling in that class. So a little bit more, it is towards creativity at your own level. And as I said, to me, today I'm with faculty. Tomorrow I'm hoping that faculty will be with the students. So hoping some of things. So in a way, I'm also targeting students, right? So there's nothing that, but right now you are the students in a way. So therefore, some of things are directly given to as if you means you as faculty or you means tomorrow your students. So expertise, motivation, some of these things, if we are finding that, so it's how we define creativity and innovation, as we say within. So be ready for such experimentations and lot of learning. I didn't use put the word here, which I normally use. Your own learning is what matters. That are you changing ways on a daily basis, on a routine that we saw routines were part of the discussion. So now I think it is, well, I wanted to touch the ultimate of intelligence, which is what we call spiritual intelligence. You might find a video YouTube link for this lecture of mine. But here I have given a bit of it, that are we considering the holistic all dimensions of intelligence for a student, where we assume all these to come in some bits and pieces in the form of wisdom, compassion, integrity. Okay, so if you are considering IQ as if the students are IQ centric, then EQ is becoming, the jobs are coming with EQ, and then they will tomorrow assume spiritual. And then physical, this is what we already stated. So this intelligence is not just IQ or mental intelligence, it is physical, emotional. Okay, so I'm going faster so that we could see, I'm throwing few things only for discussion. So I'm trying to leave about last 20 to 30 minutes, whatever we can. So I'm trying to wind up now so that we could have, I could have the fruit of this discussion, something to looking forward to, from your side. So I don't want to, so I'm just giving you, okay, so I don't need, I have, this is some of the ideas are actually that I have been pushing to many institutions of higher education. And so, but I found that I've tried to see them in the light of, so bottom lines are from NEP and other things are what I've been, stating also at different levels. Uh, so I would request you, maybe we can only come back to this. So now in a way, from individual to institution, this is what I need you to see the connect, right? So I want you to have a connect of individual development to society development. This is what we started earlier also when I said science and technology and those attitudes, knowledge and motivation, etc. that we said earlier for individuals, also leading to institution level and then to society levels. So therefore, let the faculty members look at individuals at the front apparent view and society at the backdrop. So therefore, today's individuals in your class will go to the background and they will become part of the society. Of course, society includes industry. So you have a foreground of the class, tomorrow they will be alumni. And then from the alumni, they will be either employing or employers, or they will be either employee or employer serving the society, and then maybe giving good name to you and to your institution. So a few things that are in a way I have put in here, and I'm not spending much time on it, but only giving the point of the major point on the title. Now, novelty was talked about. So there's a lot of novelty required at the student idea level to faculty level, and to see that they serve the society with innovative ideas, even fundamentally novel ideas. They can even have protection of their idea through patents, as you heard in my endeavor. And most of my students were a partner to the patenting process. So a lot of things, so if not invention at all levels of science, but other levels of science do have innovative. A lot of innovations do come in and a lot of application to the society come. So are you ready for transformation? Are you ready to change from the current operational cycle to a new cycle? Or are you still speculating? Or are you having some doubts? Or can we go back to the old classroom? Are you experimenting, or you are looking forward to going back to the operational cycle? What is that you are assuming? Are you again into known solutions, or are you into developing solutions? Or maybe technology becomes a very impeding or sometimes facilitating tool. Some people enjoy the use of technology and some are troubled by the technology. Sometimes we say older people are troubled by the technology, which is not the case always, but maybe sometimes it happens. So you need to see where you are as a faculty member. Okay, there are some sectors. Now I'll bring only one issue which is towards Industry 4.0. What is Industry 4.0? Is just to say that industry in the global sense is embracing fourth revolution. So I'll just show you, this is that fourth revolution. So in a way now, the industry is already into cyber physical systems, right? So industry had third generation of computers and automation, and now it is already fusing. So both systems are working together. You have all pay, this pay, Google Pay, WhatsApp Pay, and so in a way, currencies now, RBI is also moving to digital rupee. So therefore, the world is into both. World will move today in real world, tomorrow in cyber world. I mean, today in the sense, I mean, not today, tomorrow. So in a way, we are always into cyber physical system, and we need to be comfortable with that. And maybe the cyber world has given us a lot of utopian, ideal performance results at a server level and at an integration level. So that's what is Industrial Revolution 4. It started 2000 onwards in the global world as a smart factory with a lot of automation. And so in a way, it's no more manual. This is not to teach you industrial revolution, but it's just to give you awareness that employability in the industry may anyway be happening towards Industry 4.0. And let me tell you, education also is embarking towards in Education 4.0. And then you have to see who leads, whether you get Education 5.0 or Industry 5.0. Both are talked about in the real world, in the global senses. So therefore, and you can see that in NEP 2020 also. This is a bit technical for what is happening in Industry 4.0. So that means machines are talking to each other, machines are connected to each other, the information is transparently available. When you see ATM or your online bank account giving you complete transparency, you definitely find it better than old banking style where you had to go to bank for your passbook updation and all that. Today, there's a huge transparency. So banking has already reached, in a way, Industry 4.0s, and they are serving to the humans. In a way, you have seen that all cyber systems in banking are serving humans. Humans are not serving. Humans may be serving little bit to the machines, but machines are more serving. That's the visibility of, in a way, 24/7 by 365 kind of advantages you have seen. So if you want to understand, I'm just giving you banking example, which is easier to understand. And same thing is happening in others, whether it's Amazon or other things you are finding, at least in delivery and supply chain, you have seen even Industry 4.0, but a lot of manufacturing. Now, as I said, you may have an individualized, personalized car manufactured by a car industry. Imagine that is not far off from today. Is not far off. So therefore, as I said, individualized, customized. Again, this is components of Industry 4.0. Again, this may not be the focus of today's discussion, but this was just to make you aware that all these avenues of employability are coming up. They are already happening in the world, and in some of the Indian auto industries are embracing to this. Other industries, banking industries, information technology, some industries have embraced, others are following. So now the purpose is here. Maybe now you have to see where you are. You can honestly make this assessment, since this material will be available later on also. You can honestly put yourself where you are. Are you at Education 1.0, Education 2.0, Education 3.0, Education 4.0? So it's not industry. Education 4.0 is also happening parallelly. So basically, education and industry are going parallel. Now, who leads what is a big question. In Indian scenario, we say industry oriented. As if industry, we are following industry. Who is following? Tell me. Is education following industry or industry following education? I want you to follow it seriously. And many institutions, when I see practically private institutions saying, oh, we are industry oriented. Well, then if you are industry oriented, where are you leading then? So if you let industry lead, then So I would say let it be a debate later on, but you can see the human-based goal, accelerated learning, always emerging, or even, stakeholders, students, part of the game. So in a way, uh, you know, you will see here that here it is now. 5. Oh, not yet. Maybe in some other slide you will see. So how are you? The previous slide was there. When we talked about this part of the previous slide, I brought it here. Again, I brought this education serving industry, industry serving society, and how the two connect. And are we doing personalized learning? Are we doing learning flexibility? Are we doing project-based learning? PBL is something that I learned in 2000 in that MBA project. So, and we've been following it, of course. So, in a way, not a single exam, continuous improvement. There was a question just a few minutes ago about, open book exam. Here we are talking about distributed exam or a continuous exam or a daily exam. If there is a daily little bit of examination, if there is a daily learning and daily testing, then maybe the evaluation will be more distributed. Curriculum with student participation, can we imagine? This is how. So we are not connecting with industry, but we are connecting with student in a way, in this part of the curriculum part. So are we moving from teaching to guidance to mentoring? So these are some of the connections, time and space independent education. That means wherever the student is, wherever the teacher is, that will be possible only through virtual means. So therefore, physical education may not have time and space independent, but yes, even when you are physically having a class, we could consider this independence. So these are some of the connections. Maybe we can have more. So this is almost end of our discussion, that wherein we can have questions onwards from this slide. So as I told you, this is artistic. I just missed probably the link for this, but this is artistic picturization of society 5.0. So whether Indian education moves to 4.0 or 5.0, or Indian industry moves to 4.0 and 5.0, or the society moves. See, Amazon came from somewhere else. And today you have something. Society having a very different way of shopping. Well, banking system came automatically. IT, came from India and went to many other countries also. So different things are happening. Globally, it will happen. It is happening. The society will not be cut off from the rest of the world when it finds 5.0. So people will buy imported stuff, or will have other things, or have some connection. The world will remain connected, right? It is not just virus. It is the development also gets, shared from one country to the other country. When you move to US, Canada, or they come here and all that. Indians live all over the world. Even otherwise people come from. So therefore, I will just say it's not just about technologies. A digital society, tomorrow's digital society is already taking a shape. Banking example. Tomorrow, if get education is moving in some ways, you have a lot of Baiju and a lot of virtual education coaching platforms have come in the recent past, and institutions also moving towards that. And then, so therefore, huge sectors are embracing towards in digital society. But digital society doesn't mean that they have any virtual food. They have real food. They have real transportation. Their real health is real and all that, despite some challenges. So that is where I wish to stop, and I leave, I think, very little time, but whatever time we can. With the audience number wise, I can see 87 here participants, and maybe we can talk about things. I have thrown many things before you just to tell you in terms of management. This is the last slide. So to me, mind matters a lot, much more than, as we say, 3 M's of management: material, money, machinery, technology. Though we come from engineering and technology, but I value, to me, in MBA, humans remain the most important resource, and of course the mind. Well, who says with Indian yoga and meditation and everything, the whole body, not just mind, matters a lot. Health matters a lot. So that's it from me. Well, I'm open to questions, discussions, anything that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such an informative session. Now I ask the participants to go for the interactive session. They can ask questions. Participants, you can put your questions.
Are there questions on chat?
No, sir.
Anything we can revisit? Any doubts or anything? Any disagreement from the points put forward? You may always disagree. We welcome disagreements. We welcome your opinions on any part of the sharing.
No disagreement, sir.
I wish there were disagreements. Otherwise, it will be a conformity of the whole material. No, there cannot be a blind conformity. So let's welcome any disagreement or different opinion or a question. So see, the only way to express your reflection is through your. Yes. Anything, Madam Jasmeet Kaur? No.
Sir, as it is, there is no disagreement, but since these things are conceptualized things, so naturally different people will be having various perspectives about all the things that you have discussed.
Okay.
So since learning and teaching is also an evolving concept, your conceptual concepts will be entirely different from others' concepts as well. So things will differ from one person to another.
So you are saying each individual will go their own way.
Within
Right?
a broader framework.
Yeah, partly you all are free to follow their own ways. However, we are all here to learn from each other also. So there is some influence and there is some individuality, both. So we are formed by, as I said, have at least two dimensions. A linear single dimension is not a path of growth. It won't give anything. So therefore, at least.
Because sometimes we will have to change the way in which things are imparted depending upon the receiver also.
Yeah, that's personalized teaching. If when we, I would also request all of you to look at how you look at your own children and how you look at your students in the class. So do we have the same, or because of numbers we have one or two kids at home, so we have 20, 30, 40 large number of students? Do we maintain? There are some of the provocations I say. So there is an individuality sometimes personalized. So you may have a personalized food for your child, but you may not have a personalized learning from your student for your student. Or maybe yes. I was in an IIT. They said, "Can we have individual exams?" I mean, we discussed. They said we have 160 students because some of them get into cheating. So could we have individualized exam? In fact, many of my assignments are individualized because in PhD scholars, we can have individualized assignments. So their answer is.
But sir, in the case of batch size of 300 or so, individualized examination is going to be a Herculean task.
No, it is happening. We are doing it. Of course, not many students are with us. So what we do is that the statement might seem same, but their answer, their assignment replies are different. This is what I'm trying to say. Individualized, not that the questions are different. For example, in a research, we can do that because they can answer from their own research, from their own. So their answer, one's answer is entirely different from the other person's.
So this is possible when you're focusing on case study based analysis and things like that. But in the case, when we are going for this case study based analysis type of a pedagogy,
Yeah, in
it
research
is
case study, in
possible.
higher level, in higher education, it is possible. In early level, it may not be necessary also. At a graduate level, we don't need to do that. Graduate level, we impart the common knowledge. Fine, agreed. At institution
But
of
the problem with Indian education system is it is not universally accepted.
sorry, what is not accepted?
Problem with Indian education system is that even though we talk about new education policy, this type of personalized evaluation thing is not universally accepted in India.
See, we are not only talking about personalized education. It has seemed a very extreme issue right now, but there are many issues we talked about. I mean, I'm just giving that. That is an extreme view. What is not acceptable? What is acceptable? All that, yes, these are the issues. First, we need to see the challenges or opportunities, both ways, before us, and then what we can do about it. So this is, see, world is changing. So I gave you that industry, society, and education revolutions happening all over the world. So whether you become part of that revolution or then you say you will keep cursing that, oh, I cannot do teaching virtually like that. I have difficulty of this. And so we may be cursing on a daily basis then. Either become part of the change or anyway change is happening. So choice is yours. Some changes are happening anyway.
Yes, positive changes are really happening now.
Yeah. So do we want to be facing the changes or challenges or create challenges for others? Or rather, maybe take a leading role or a passive role. That is the option we have.
Sir, we have a question on the chat box from Dr. Tanuja Chandra, and she is asking about the humanistic approach of learning and teaching in the industrial approach 4.0 and 5.0.
Sorry,
humanistic approach of learning and teaching in the industrial approach.
Okay, Tanuja. Okay, I was,
Dr. Tanuja Chandra.
Yadav, thanks.
Tanuja Chandra. Yes, sir.
But what about humanistic approach of learning? Yeah,
teaching.
Learning is humanistic. We are talking about human learning only. There's nothing like industrial here. I don't know why teaching in the industrial approach. There's nothing like industrial. We have just told you industry is following a revolution. I think there is some miscommunication here. We are talking about learning of humans. Humans remain the center of this whole FDP education and everything. So when we showed you industrial 4.0, that is just to tell you that industry is looking for humans in that environment. Right? So I think there is some miscommunication. If you, Dr. Tanuja, if you wish to come forward, maybe you can clarify your question better.
Dr. Tanuja, are you here? Dr. Tanuja, are you here, ma'am? So you can clarify your points of view.
Yeah, it is humanistic. Yeah, we are talking about humanistic approach all the way. All the way, it is all humanistic we are talking about. Students are our focus today in this discussion. There was some other, why not form working? What is that? Imran Ali.
Sir, they are talking about, I think, feedback form.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, Tanuja comes in, but the demand for innovation approach is one way. Overburden for humans. Oh no, madam, what are you talking here? Overburden. Overburden comes when we are not competent. When we are not competent for something, then we say it is overburden. There's nothing like overburden. Not at all. It says demand for innovation. See, you take a fresh air or not. You breathe every fresh breath, every moment. Will you take the old breath? Huh? So how can a teacher, how can in the education system we say that innovation is burden? No, madam. Maybe she has some connectivity issues, so there's a chat, but good, okay, at least some reflection coming up. There's no demand. See, demand is a pressure, people believe. Sometimes in a business we say, wow, very good, there's a lot of demand. Why is that a businessman says there's a lot of demand means more business, and a teacher with demand says it is overburdened? How is this same into job environments? The demand is liked by somebody and disliked by somebody. Here also education.
So I would like to add on, nowadays the present generation with respect to other than light colleges and all, the students are not at all demanding. that is our burden.
Many
Why they are
times I find, yeah, students seems to be deadly sitting in the class, not at all not at all listening.
sometimes we think that why they are not demanding, because
Yeah.
they should challenge the academicians. Then only we will be able to improve, and we will then only maza aata hai class mein wala concept.
See, imagine when the child is born, the child cries, isn't it? When the child is born, the child cries. If the child doesn't cry, what does it mean? What does it mean to the teachers? When a baby is born and it doesn't cry, what will happen to the mother or parents or the whole?
We will take it for granted.
That means it is a very sad affair. If they are not
Yes.
responding, that means you assume that they are going away from you.
Yes.
These are the observations we have seen at different platforms. So sorry to say that this is what we need to be concerned. So therefore, their responses are of paramount importance. No matter, that's why I invited disagreements. So let the disagreement not be pushed under the carpet. If you are not liking any part of it, let there be disagreement. At least that's the beginning of the learning. So agreement, in fact, has no learning. If you say all is agreed, I will say nothing is learned. Then it will be it is left for the future. Right? So therefore, there has to be, our understanding has to have some agreement, some disagreement. Both are required, as I said. Right? So there's no one dimension will lead us anywhere. We need to have another dimension. A bit of disagreement, as we see in questions, right? Yeah, good. At least there are some disagreement. Dr. Tanuja, I hope a few things you said will help everyone. Yeah.
Any other question? Any other question from the participant side?
Yeah. Let's see, if you don't like something, let us hear. That will give us the current state of your mind. See, your questions define you right you are now at this moment. Tomorrow you may change, right? So if this material and this interaction can help, it will be of great. To a speaker also, that's a reflection or regard we can pay by raising some, even disagreements, as I said, questions, doubts, or even your challenges that you say it's very burdenful. Fine, even if you find something burdenful, let me know what is the most burdenful part you have. What is that most troublesome part you are facing? Let me see. Even out of context, you may have any question on out of context, because anything you may have somewhere I may connect to the content that we shared. So I think we'll be able to connect it to what is most bothering you at this juncture. What is that? Let me hear from faculty. It may be anything, job, at home, or wherever, related to your profession. Information. Okay, no, she says informative talk. Okay. Dr. M.
Karthiresan.
Yeah. They say if there is agreement in job environment, they say if two people agree, one of them is useless. You know that? Have you heard this? They say if there are two people in a job in industry, they'll say both are saying the same thing. One of them need not be there. So therefore, this agreement can be to that extent also. They'll say only one is okay because other person is just nodding. Okay, there is another question from the challenge of aligning the learners or teaching pattern with the innovative. Good. I now appreciate that. She says when she tries something new, innovative, there is a challenge to align people. Yes, innovation has a settling time. Yes, I appreciate this now, which you are saying. That's the journey of your development. See, you put forward an idea and people don't like it in the beginning, right? Okay, fine. If you are strong and conviction that you are really helping others to receive that idea, you will innovate and interact and communicate with them that it is truly useful to them. So you will bring stakeholders, like we said, that students' participation. So you will first win the heart of the audience, that yes, you are truly intended for their benefit. And then, yes, it may have few steps. Yes. Yeah, this novelty or any innovation doesn't come without some additional steps that are also done from your side. And then that is where you win people, and then you serve people. And then they realize, and then you long-term trust gets built up. Then they will have even blind faith later on. We don't want to have a blind faith always, because that won't be truly developmental for the students. However, if there is any new style of, yes, there is some alignment. We say in leadership, we say align and enroll. So when you put forward new objectives, you need to align and enroll them. Like you give a new idea, I will try this open book. Students, are you ready? We'll follow this way. So you show the process. And then you say, okay, this is what is expected of you, and this is what not expected from you. So yeah, you will have to build that. That is a lot of leadership required. And that is why these discussion today, as I said, stems from a lot of leadership lessons. Yes, so I appreciate your question. And whatever you make change will have some resistance also. But but as I said, if you interact with them, you can win over them. And you can mold also. You can even alter, saying that, okay, if this is becoming too complex, you should be ready to okay, I'll reduce. It's like you serve the child and the child says it is too much of salt. You say, okay, I will reduce the salt. So you work together. So it's not that it's unilateral. It's not one-step success possibility. Innovation doesn't come in one step. Not because not a dictatorship. So yeah, there's a lot of one-to-one, both ways, forward and kind of feedback. Both lessons go together, and then you're able to transform with a new model. Then the new model settles. If you saw the innovation cycles, we said there is a routine cycle and there is a new cycle. The new cycle does have a lot of questions in the beginning. A lot of passiveness comes from the society, from the environment. And then if you show them through the whole cycle, when you complete one cycle, then they realize the benefits. Yes, it takes long, patience and a few steps to alter with your audience in a way. So that is innovative step. That is what we call innovation steps. So innovation has many steps. I hope, Tanuja, we are unable to interact with you, but you are coming through. Yeah, she says, thanks for your motivation. Yeah, I remember you said motivation. I remember once a teacher asked me how to remain motivated. I will say teachers are sources of energy. I mean, energy in the sense, this motivational energy. So teachers will remain motivated and patient because they need to face new students and new challenges of this kind, making the others' mind change. So definitely you need to have the kind of sharing that I was doing today. So you need to probably as you mature in your career, maybe you learn these. That's why I was telling, learning on a daily basis, including technology, will be the way out. Make things comfortable. So somebody says not able to see the feedback link. Oh, people are still struggling. I remember many FDPs, people keep talking about for feedback form, attendance and many things and timetables. Many of them go in the background to talk about those things. So, I keep enjoying this. Yeah, anything further we can?
Any other question? Participants?
See,
Any more question?
You have time till 1:50. We are not using your time effectively. Few minutes still we have, right? So it was a long session with possibility of interaction. So I am still hoping. Who wants to be the last in raising the question? Say in market, they say who is the last one in the market? The leader in the market is the one who is the last. So if you are not the first, can there be any last question? Who wants to enjoy that award? Who is the last question award winner? So we are giving awards now. Anyone? Oh, somebody took a lead. Kulveer Singh Rana says, how we can be motivated. At least this provocation gave you motivation. See, motivation, they say sometimes intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation I call, like if teacher and a faculty or a leader will have intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation in the sense, the one who is not motivated by some reward, award, money, incentive, and visible force. They say with force people work, or they say with greed people work. These are extrinsic motivators. The true intrinsic motivation is that when you see that the kind of transformation as we discussed, I mean, you may have your own plan of transformation and innovation. Like Tanuja was asking, she was asking about how to see their idea or a new innovation imparted in the new environment. So I would say that is a true reward. So if you have that new idea, if you feel that is going through the audience with some challenges, if you're facing even the resistance and you're continuing with it, you can test from your patience, you can test from your standing. I would say not test from your ego, but reasonable little bit of ego might be helpful. These are some of the motivators I would consider as intrinsic motivators. I hope that helps you, but I'm not elaborating too much, assuming that this little bit will help you more, and others can also have. I still want to keep open with the time permission, or it's again last minute for a last person. Anyone who wants to be the last, or you want this award to go to Dr. Kulveer Singh? Anyone who wants to be the last question holder? Still there is a minute or so, 150, or what is the time? Oh, already 150, I think. Okay, so he remains the last person to raise question. Madam, is it fine or we continue? We have time?
Sir, we have lunch break at 1:50 actually.
So it's already 1:50. Oh,
Yes, sir. So can I wind up the session, sir?
yeah, it's already time. So for me, it's
Okay,
fine.
sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. So, sir, thank you so much for this really informative and thoughtful session. In fact, it highlights some of the aspects of bridging the gap between education, especially higher education, and employability. It talks about integration of knowledge, experience, attitudes, values, and innovation, and obviously work habits, which can be the vehicle of progress. And as a student of economics, I can only say that India, it has a huge advantage of demographic dividend. And it can, India, if they can nourish that the demographic dividend, then one day we can have a brighter and newer India with the help of higher productivity, higher growth, and higher development. That's all from my side, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you all the participants for your cooperation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.